Can a diet help alleviate depression? A new study finds a third of depressed patients following a modified Mediterranean diet met the criteria for remission in 12 weeks. Here to tell us more about the study and its practical implications is WSJ Health reporter Sumathi Reddy. Hi, Sumathi. Great to see you. Is this the first formal study looking at the link between diet and depression?
It's the first randomized control study, which is considered the gold standard in science.
Right.
You're dividing up a group into a control group and then testing, a specific thing.
Because there had been some anecdotal evidence in the past, but nothing sort of this.
There's been a pretty growing body of observational studies and animal studies that have shown that what you eat really affects your brain health and can affect mental health disorders.
So this is a fascinating study. Tell us about it exactly. There were 67 clinically depressed patients involved?
Yes. So they divided up those 67 into two groups. One went on a modified Mediterranean diet for 12 weeks, met with a dietitian every week, got food counseling, help with recipes and meal planning. The other half was the control group, and they got social interaction, one-on-one social interaction with someone like a dietitian, but but they didn't talk about food. There were no changes in their diet.
And they were all around age 40, all somewhat overweight as well, right?
Yeah,
that was a factor in the study.
BMI was overweight,
right?
Slightly less than obese.
And they were all on medication.
No, actually, they were all being treated for depression. So some were doing psychotherapy, some were doing depression, some were doing both.
Okay, all right. So then the results showed pretty promising.
Yeah, so the researchers were pleasantly surprised to find, or not surprised, but they were happy to find that 1/3 of the diet group ended up meeting the criteria for remission, and in the control group it was only 8%. So that was a pretty significant difference.
And tell us a little bit more about the diet. It was sort of a modified Mediterranean diet,
yeah,
correct?
so it's kind of what you think of, the fish, the olive oil, the leafy greens, fruits, whole grains, and then the modified is because lean red meat is also included, as well as dairy.
And they were supposed to also cut back on sweets and processed foods.
Yes, yeah, so all the bad stuff, fried foods, processed foods.
And they met with a dietitian to help them?
So every week they were meeting, they were getting some recipe ideas, help with planning meals.
So they had support, which is one of the caveats, right, of the researchers, that in many cases, depressed people have trouble sticking to any sort of plan. They have trouble being motivated, correct?
So just getting out of bed and, the idea of going grocery shopping and planning your meals and then cooking is obviously a huge barrier for someone who has significant depression.
Right, so that was the big caveat. And also they weren't able to determine how much of the alleviation of the symptoms had to do with medication, since some of them were on medication, correct?
Yeah, so that's another caveat, as well as how much these people had poor healthy eating habits to begin with. So if they didn't, would this have made any difference?
Right, and the ones that showed the most improvement were patients who had the worst diet to begin with.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's an interesting point. Yeah. Now, these patients did not lose any weight, and that was not the point of the study, correct?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I kind of expected them with such a healthy diet, especially since they're overweight to begin with, to lose weight. But no, I guess the researcher said there's no sort of correlation between lowering your weight and improving your eating habits.
Right. So the practical applications of this are, hey, this is a good diet. Don't expect it to be a cure-all for everything, but it's certainly a good first step.
Exactly. And the researcher did say they will test sort of the difference between diet changes and medication or diet changes and psychotherapy. That might be a future study.
Right.
Right now, they're looking at this as this is a good thing to add in combination with whatever treatment you're getting.
Right. And it's a pretty comprehensive diet. I mean, it doesn't ask you to cut out a lot of things, just sort of the processed foods and the sugary sodas that we shouldn't. It can be difficult, but we shouldn't be eating them anyway, right?
Exactly,
Even those of us who are not depressed should probably follow this diet. All right, Sumathi, thank you so much for that.